Everything we know about this world ends sooner or later. Joy, suffering, love, a long road, an interesting journey, human life, this video, and a huge universe. Stop, though. We seem to be wrong about the latter. Or not. Astronomy has answered many questions that interest humanity. Thanks to this science, we learned that the Earth is round, and that the Sun is a huge hot ball, and there are billions of similar stars in the macrocosm. But scientists are not yet able to find out whether there's a boundary in the vast universe. Only reflections on the subject are heard from everywhere, but even then they stun untrained minds. First, think about what is infinity. In the case of the universe, this means that the size, the mass, the time of its existence cannot be expressed in any, even incredibly large numbers. In traditional cosmology, there are two important ifs. If the macrocosm is finite, it cannot be in a stable state. The universe will either contract or expand, as we are seeing now. The second if is that when space is infinite, all these actions simply lose their meaning. How do we live with it now? Probably due to those cosmological postulates, the opinions of scientists are seriously divided. Let's voice the most popular ones.
Subscribe.
Theory 1. Find your copy. Let's start with the most improbable. Suppose that the universe is infinite. Then the following law inevitably takes effect. The fact is that in a certain volume of space there is a limited number of particles and their combinations. For example, in the observable universe there are about 10 to 80 degrees. This number is so huge that it is impossible to write it down with all the pencils available on Earth. But this is far from the limit. If you dive further into space, the number of configurations will increase. But again, to a certain point. And when the milestone is passed, the traveler will increasingly notice familiar places that vaguely remind him of what he saw earlier. Until finally, the person finds a duplicate of the solar system, the Earth, and finally, a copy of himself. And this is the most incredible thing that can happen in the space-time continuum. So the universe is still limited. Probably yes, many orthodox astronomers will tell you. After all, the state of isolation is much more convenient since it does not disturb the physical laws. Version 2. Size matters. So, scientists have been unsuccessfully searching for evidence of the existence of the boundaries of the universe or their absence for decades. The logic of the search is that if the space is closed, then looking closely you can find identical locations from both edges of the sky. But no matter how many astronomers have observed, there are absolutely no such similarities. At the moment, the universe is 93 billion light-years across due to constant expansion. This may only be a small part, but it's what we're able to observe. If you measure this in kilometers, you get an unimaginable, monstrous distance. And surprisingly, you cannot find repeated fragments in a galaxy or nebula in the entire viewing area. This fact allows us to conclude that the universe is open. But the statements will be correct if the size is not large by astronomical standards. Based on this, a certain group of astronomers strongly advocate an infinite universe. The third assumption: multiply by millions. But no, says another scientific conglomerate. It is closed. Let's try to argue this opinion as well. It is a well-known fact that the further into space we look, the more ancient locations we observe. And we see them not as they are at the moment, but as they were thousands or millions or even billions of years ago. But in addition to stars, galaxies, and clouds of gas, astronomers are studying the early light of the universe called the cosmic microwave background. It contains a wealth of information encoded in it. In particular, its fluctuations help to find out that the world around us is absolutely flat space. Adherents of this theory believe that the universe is limited, but the scale of the structure is so impressive that we cannot determine how and where the universe closes on itself. It's believed that it is at least 250 times larger than the space that humanity is able to observe. This is a huge number, at least equal to 11 trillion light-years in any direction. And this is according to the most conservative estimates. Our pygmy scale is incomparable with such a huge one. Accordingly, people are not able to see the true state of things and realize the finiteness of the megastructure. NASA asks for the floor. Experts of the famous space agency confirm the theory of the limited size of the universe, but approach the proof of this assumption from a different angle. They were also interested in its fluctuations. They carefully studied the data obtained from the US probe WMAP and find out that there were practically no fluctuations in the microwave background during large-scale measurements. This not only shows that the universe is finite, but it also proves that it is relatively small. That is, we are not talking about trillions of light-years, but only about 7 billion. Therefore, in such a closed and small space by the standards of the macrocosm, extended fluctuations simply cannot occur. It is obvious that scientific pluralism is progressing and that it is unknown what else scientists will think of. The presented hypotheses do not allow us to fully understand which of them are correct, or at least as close to the truth as possible. So far, the question of the finiteness of the universe is vaguely reminiscent of the rhetorical riddle of the egg and the chicken. After analyzing the most popular hypotheses, we can say that the majority still tends to a more familiar version of the final structure. You may have versions of what a limited universe might look like. Share in the comments how you see it. A giant closed torus? A Klein bottle? A Mobius loop? Or something even more incredible? And at the same time, do not forget about likes, reposts, and a magic bell that allows you to be the first to receive notifications from our channel.